Welcome to another powerful episode on Quiet Empire. I'm your host, Safaa Alam. Today's guest embodies quiet authority. A private banker who has advised high net worth and ultra high net worth families across the globe. An East African Asian woman from an entrepreneurial Kenyan background. She's now the co founder of Aura Key Properties in Dubai, bringing institutional finance discipline into real estate. What's powerful about her is that she doesn't just sell property, she structures wealth. So please welcome Neha Varma. Welcome to Quiet Empire.
Thank you so much, Saha. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's a
Thank you for the
pleasure.
warm introduction.
Thank you.
Yes.
It's honestly a true pleasure to have you here today.
Likewise. And this is such a fantastic platform
Yeah.
for people like myself,
Exactly.
Fantastic. Good
Yeah.
work.
Thank you. So I usually like to start at the beginning because power usually has roots.
Of course.
So you're an East African Asian raised in an entrepreneurial family in Kenya. Now you've spent 15 to 16 years in Dubai, right?
Yes, definitely.
How has that cross-culture upbringing shaped the way you see money and success?
Well, that's a very, very good question. I think my journey has been very rewarding and has taught me a lot. There's been a lot of growth.
Yeah.
And I think one major word that comes to my mind is exposure. It's really helped me see money
Yeah.
and wealth in a very different light. It's taught me a lot of things about global wealth, not just regional wealth.
Yeah.
And of course, how to then advise my clients accordingly to build a successful legacy and empire for their own families to carry on. So exposure has been the foundation of my understanding of wealth.
Yeah.
And there's no better place than Dubai for exposure because just look at the position of UAE. It's positioned
Exactly.
right in the middle of the world.
Yeah.
The DIFC, which is where I work, the financial center, it's right in the middle of your New York Stock Exchange markets and your Asian markets. It bridges a very important gap and now acts as a very strategic platform for Africa.
Yeah.
So that has given me, just by being in Dubai, I actually come across transactions and deals that are happening all over the globe rather than before when I was stationed in East Africa. So yes, it's the platform and it's the exposure, these two things.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's wonderful. So I wanted to share a moment I had. Before we started the episode, I was telling you that my husband and I were talking about maybe in the future doing something in Dubai, an investment, or maybe even just moving there as a family. So while we were having this conversation, my kids were in the room, and my oldest daughter, she's 6 years old. And she came up to us and she's like, I think moving to Dubai is a good idea because there's a lot of investment opportunity over there. And both of us were so caught off guard, we're like, whoa, she
Wow.
literally understands the meaning of investment and she knows how to use it in a sentence. And it was a really proud moment at that time because, it even showed us that these are the conversations we're having in our house and these are the things she's picking up. So when you were growing up, you were surrounded by entrepreneurship.
Yes.
What would you say is your earliest memory of business or wealth conversations at home?
Yes, so actually my family's been into the mining business since the 1960s. And
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, my grandfather started the business. So it's a typical East African, family business story where one generation builds everything and
Yeah.
then slowly transitions to the next generations. I grew up watching the next generation take over, which was now my father's and uncles taking over the business. And I think I saw a lot of mistakes being made at that time. As early as I was able to understand, I mean, 6'6" is very young.
Yeah.
But I think for me, it came later on, where I was able to understand that there has been some gaps.
Yeah.
When you build a legacy, when you build an empire, I think one of the main things that the fabric of East African businessmen is they focus a lot on the wealth creation aspect, but there's less focus on the wealth preservation aspect. So growing up, I felt my interest lied more towards the wealth preservation aspect because I was a beneficiary of the estate.
Yeah.
And that is now what I do for a living. I advise clients of mine on how to transition the wealth successfully from one generation to the other.
I love that. That's very well put.
Thank you.
So across all your, I would say, experience working
Yes.
with different types of families, what did you learn about wealth behind closed doors that most people misunderstand?
I learned a lot of things, but some of the key things I learned is that wealth can change people. It can build you. It can also break families. It can, when someone comes into inheritance of a
Yeah.
large sum of money, it can cause entitlement issues.
I think we see that a lot in Asian culture also.
Yes, and the main problem, the reason for this is lack of transparency. So as I mentioned to you earlier, the patriarch or the matriarch is the person who set up the whole empire, started from scratch, built everything. They focus so much on wealth creation. They ignore that 50% of the success comes from wealth preservation. And they don't have the difficult conversations with their families.
Yeah.
Sit down with your family. It's very important to discuss how many bank accounts you have, first of all. Where are the bank accounts? Where are your assets at the moment? Where do they lie? So one of the major drawbacks I've seen is communication, lack of transparency.
Yeah.
You get so focused in this everyday rat race of building the empire, building the wealth. But you need to understand that it's so important to safeguard that and ring fence it to make it last to the next generation.
Yeah.
So I would start at communication. Very, very important. And this is where I get to sit across the table from my client and we have a very open conversation about all their different aspects of wealth.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you say wealth is more than capital, it's
Yes.
legacy. When did that shift happen for you? Because that's not something that, you wake up and say, this is how I see it. I'm sure there's a shift that happened that made you believe so.
For me, legacy is at the core of what I do. I wake up every morning not to close a deal or, a target revenue. It's more to make an impact on a family's life, on how they maneuver their legacy.
Yeah.
And I do it through the lessons I learned through my own family legacy. I started managing my family legacy in 2017 when my father passed away. That for me was the biggest shift.
Okay.
It was a wake-up call to say, okay, I can be that member of the family to stand up and say, hey, listen, let's structure things out properly. Let everyone know what they're going to get in the end of the day. Let everyone know their roles. And also let's identify a vision for this wealth. Because 10 years down the line, 20 years down the line, it should actually be double, triple, quadruple. So that shift came when I lost my dad, actually. He's been my inspiration. He's my motivation to start my company. I grew up watching him in the business environment. He motivated me so much.
Yeah.
He gave me a free hand to do what I wanted to do. And when he passed away, when I lost him, I said, I'm going to dedicate now my time to helping others build their legacy. And my father will be my inspiration for that. And my own family legacy will be my inspiration.
Wow.
So yeah, that's a bit about my own personal story.
Yeah.
And every day I go with that personal story to meet my clients. And I go with a very unbiased view.
Yeah.
It's not about closing the deal for me. It's about the
Exactly.
holistic relationship, long-term relationship that I'm going to have with them.
Losing a parent can be really hard, but it's very inspiring to see the way you took that and changed it into something so powerful, and you want to take his legacy ahead. I think that's the most beautiful thing a child can do for their parent.
Definitely. I think I started off by taking his legacy ahead.
Yeah.
But just recently I realized that in that I also am building my own legacy.
Yeah.
So it was a very beautiful, inspiration and a realization that I had recently towards the end of last year that, wow, I'm actually subconsciously even building my own legacy.
Yeah.
So it's more rewarding
Exactly.
over time.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I honestly wish you all the best.
Thank you,
Yeah.
dear.
So when you transitioned into real estate, did it feel like starting over, or did it feel like an extension to everything you've done so far?
Definitely an extension. It didn't feel like I'm starting over at all. In fact, it felt like I'm complementing my existing business of wealth management for high net worth individuals. The reason is because of where I'm located. When you think of Dubai, you think of property, you think of Burj Khalifa.
Yes.
What they have achieved in the past 50 years, it's very hard for any city in the world to achieve that.
Yeah.
And what they're now going to achieve for the next 50. If I left out real estate as an asset class for my clients, I would be leaving out a very strategic point of investment. If you look at how real estate has done since COVID in Dubai, you're looking at phenomenal numbers.
Yeah.
Just within the vicinity of downtown Burj Khalifa, you're looking at almost 50 to 70% capital appreciation.
Yeah.
I, as a banker, cannot promise that in any market. So just looking at that track record, I'm able to now advise my clients and say, why don't you have a small pocket in Dubai or Abu Dhabi now? Abu Dhabi is also upcoming.
Yeah.
And let it grow over time, you know? And it's also a dollar-based income for you. It's a tax-free income. So it definitely went hand in hand with my existing business and complemented it. Yes.
Yeah, that's a beautiful bridge.
It is, and I already have my captive client base in East
Exactly.
Africa.
Yeah.
I understand their current risk appetite, their liquidity, their long-term goals. So it's very easy for me to then tailor make the right real estate offering for them.
So you built your career in private banking and then you went into real estate. So it wasn't really accidental.
No.
After years in private banking, what made you say that real estate is the asset class my clients truly need?
It was very organic. If you look at the East African, history of investments, real estate and land has been a very strategic component for a traditional investor, mainly because you can touch and feel the real estate asset. You can hold your key, you can walk into your apartment or villa and see it and feel it. So I feel that the traditional East African investors, they prefer real estate assets. And historically, it was the UK. Everyone was investing in the UK because they were sending out like a son or a daughter there to study. So I had to start with that as well, because if don't offer the real estate component, which is one of the formation of the investment portfolio, it's the base of the investment portfolio, then I'm leaving out a very important component to offer my clients. So definitely it's been very organic for me. In fact, I was doing deals simultaneously opening my company.
Wow.
So it was like my partner was saying, Neha, you have to open this company now fast, you know?
That's like multitasking.
It was multitasking and
Yeah.
it was all over the place. And, Dubai is so fast in terms of the amount of developments happening. I've been out of Dubai for 2 weeks now on a business trip. And when I go back, I know even recognizing some parts, it becomes hard because they're building so fast.
Exactly.
It's phenomenal. So yeah, it's just been a very organic growth for me.
And that's the beauty about Dubai, you're always surprised, you're always in awe.
Yes.
Yeah. So, did you ever notice a gap in the UAE? Then that's when you co founded Oraki.
Yes, I noted a gap because my specific focus is boutique advisory and investment advisory for East African clients in Kenya and Tanzania. And I've spent the past 15 years building the trust factor with them, traveling back and forth from Dubai to East Africa. And I realized one thing very important is that when my clients were buying real estate, many of them were being misinformed and misadvised. If you go to Dubai, you land at the airport, someone will approach you from Damak or MR at the airport itself. If you go to Mall of Emirates or Dubai Mall, you'll have so many developers at your doorstep. However, that's not the right way to buy real estate. Real estate is not like you going into a mall or, a large shopping center and acquiring a property. It's sitting down with your investment advisor who understands your overall wealth picture, who has started the journey of offshore investing with you and understands your risk appetite and also understands your future goals. And then saying, okay, you know what? I think an MR in this Dubai South location would be perfect for you for what you're planning for the next 10 years. So we carefully craft out the real estate option for them based on their existing, I would say, their financial footprint, and everyone's financial footprint is very tailor-made.
Yeah.
So in Dubai, you have a sea and ocean of brokers and agents who are just trying to crack a deal to sell to get their next commission. For us, it's very different. We're looking at real estate as adding it strategically as an investment asset into your overall portfolio so that your overall portfolio over time outperforms. So it's handpicked.
Yeah.
Yes. So having the right advisor by your side when you're picking this asset is very important.
Yeah. It
Yes.
is definitely very important. Now, there's a term that Oraki uses that is very, I would say, interesting. It's called the banker's lens.
Yes.
What does that practically mean?
That practically means, so Safa, today, if you want to buy a property in Dubai, there are processes I would take you through. The first process would be to profile you, to understand what is your existing wealth structure. Are you too diversified across the globe, or are you concentrated in Kenya? Do you need to then move some assets offshore? So I would look at your financial history and your financial overview as a banker, and then plug and play real estate into the picture. There are some situations where real estate is not appropriate for some clients.
Yeah.
And a typical broker and agent wanting to sell would just sell and say, you still need this property, go ahead. But for example, I might get an elderly client coming to me and saying, Neha, I want to buy a nice property in Dubai. Identify something for me.
Yeah.
And I would sit with them and say, listen, for your age bracket, I believe that you need to keep your funds more liquid. Why don't we consider like a very liquid money market fund instead, or a fixed deposit? Because if you put your money in property, it's an illiquid asset. You need to think about your will. You need to think about what will happen when you're not there, who's going to be the beneficiary, who will take care of it when you're out of the country. So sometimes a real estate is not for everybody. And, you need to be honest to your clients, because they will trust you more. They'll value you more.
Yeah.
They'll say, okay, she didn't just come and want to close a deal with me. She actually cared about my long-term longevity of investments.
Yeah.
I also have another client who's young and who is eager to buy property in Dubai. But when I went and looked into their existing, liquidity position, it wasn't very ready and ripe. So I didn't want him to commit to a very big investment and then later on suffer his other investment portfolios. So this is where we apply a banker's lens to ensure whatever investment they're getting into, it's very comfortable for them long term. Also, the fact that I'm a banker, I'm able to arrange credit facilities like mortgage, bridge financing, sometimes even assist the client to pay upfront, upfront payments for the property in time. So this financing is very important because properties are expensive.
Yeah.
They need a huge input of capital.
This actually reminds me of a story I heard recently. It's a distant family friend. So they bought an off-plan property because the payment plan was looking good, the brochures were amazing, and of course everyone talks that in Dubai the market is booming, so many investment opportunities and all that. But what happened was they didn't look at the service charges, they didn't look at the rental demands in the area, and they didn't think about their exit strategy. So now when time is going, timelines are shifting. So they're not even sure if the rental yield will match what they were looking at. So I'm sure you see a lot of mistakes like this happen.
Definitely. And we actually do a full simulation of the if it's an off-plan property, we complete a full simulation of how the rental will work versus the financing when it's ready, and we take everything into account: service charges, any maintenance fee, any like hidden cost that may come up. So that simulation aspect, the exercise is very important because when you're selling, let's face it, Dubai does something very well, and that's marketing. They know how to market.
Everything.
Exactly. It's like Disney World for adults when you're out there sometimes.
Exactly.
Especially for some of my clients, when they come, they just get lost in this whole sea and ocean of, the glitz and the glam.
Yeah.
But when you're putting your hard-earned money into something, you really need to think. Think about it. Go with the right advisors.
Yeah.
Visit Dubai 3-4 times. Go to all locations, developers. Understand where is the population moving to, where are the best areas to invest, which developer you want to actually put your money with. So this is where we sit with you. We kind of explain the risk to you. So you don't go into something like your friend unfortunately did, whereby they're blindsided after a while. And then this investment actually starts draining out other parts of their investment portfolio.
Yeah.
So yes.
I think people get emotionally attached, I would say. When they go to Dubai and they see things and they hear promises, they really get attached to it.
It's an impulse buy.
Yes.
I've seen a lot of impulse buying happen.
Yeah.
And it's scary.
Because you're in such a awe of everything around you, you know?
Yes.
You're just like, I want everything. What can I get?
It can be intimidating.
Yeah.
There's so many launches happening every day. Everywhere you look, there's real estate, So you can get pulled into that whole, excitement. But impulse buying is not recommended at all. Yes, you can buy a dress or you can buy something else, a smaller thing. But this is a real estate.
Exactly.
This is an asset you're going to one day potentially hand over to your children and them to their children. You need to think about it. You need to sit down and understand, first of all, do I have the liquidity?
Yeah.
And if my client is buying an off-plan property, I tell them, listen, the next 4 years it's going to be handed over. You need to know your plan. You need to look at your audited financials, see when you'll be getting the liquidity, when you can pay the installments.
Yeah.
Because this is a commitment.
Exactly.
So they have to understand the commitment. Yes, so it's a journey, and it's a very intricate journey that we take the clients through.
Yeah. What would you say is a 360-degree experience for your clients?
Okay, meeting them in Kenya, because I come here very often, every 2 months. So the initial meeting would be in Kenya. I would, tell them what I do and advise about Dubai. There used to be a time previously I would have to sell Dubai, but now Dubai sells itself. So that cuts out a lot of my effort and work. But then I would firstly profile the client. Now, how do you profile a client? You look at their age, very important. The age determines their risk appetite. Someone young like yourself can take a higher risk in life. You have a long trajectory of earnings still in front of you. Versus someone in their 70s, for example, who's now slowing down, who's consolidating their assets. So age is very important. Second is your beneficiaries, your exposure. Okay, why are you buying this property? Are you buying it for yourself, to stay in it as an end use? Or are you buying it just purely for investment and flipping? That makes a very important decision for us to select the property. It's different when you're living in a property versus just buying for investment. We pay attention to very minor things like the views. Well, views is an important thing. No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying like the small things like the fittings, the furniture, everything has to be as per your taste. So we take them through the client profiling exercise. The third thing we look at is your budget. Very important. You can have the money for the down payment, like we spoke, but then after that, what happens next year? You start panicking, you default, you lose the property. It's not a good scene at all. So the profiling is very important. After we profile the client, we understand, okay, we get an idea what they require. The second thing we do is do a deep dive into their existing wealth situation. I would look at how many existing properties they have. So if they've got a very heavy real estate portfolio, then I would say, I don't think real estate is right for you right now. You need to first restructure your existing portfolio. Maybe you have a lot of assets in Kenya. Why don't you sell some and then use that money to buy a property in Dubai? Because if you're too real estate heavy, again, then you're illiquid. There's an exposure if you pass away tomorrow with will and probate in Kenya. So everyone's situation is very different. And the wealth check that we do, the deep dive into the existing wealth portfolio is very important. Because that can actually make or break the decision to buy the real estate in the first place. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Then they would fly to Dubai. Typically, I would always encourage my clients, come and see what you're buying. It's
That's
important.
important,
It's very important. I mean, we get all these like roadshows happening, and I do roadshows as well. But my roadshow is more an initial interaction with the client, and I then invite them to Dubai. Come and see Dubai, see the different areas, spend 2 days with me. I take them to all the developers, show them the different projects, the ones I've shortlisted. Make them understand the dynamics of the population, the economic, requirements, the regulations. And then we make a final decision. Okay, this is now what I want to go for. And then we close the transaction.
Wow.
So it can take long.
But it's so well structured.
It has to be. It has to be. You see, at the end of the day, East Africa is very close to my heart. It's where my family is. I'm not just a fly-by-night banker. I have to come back here tomorrow. Many of these people I work with, they already know my family. So we have a very close-knit relationship. I therefore have to advise them appropriately and for the long term. Yes.
So one thing I love about Aura Key, it's like a whole ecosystem.
Yes.
So you offer end-to-end support from
Yes.
mortgage structuring to golden visa to bank account.
Yes.
Why is it so important for you to have that end-to-end support?
The reason is because if you look at Dubai and UAE, 2025, 9,800 millionaires moved into Dubai itself.
Wow.
That's
Okay.
a huge number of,
Yeah.
that's a huge wealth movement, or I'd say wealth migration happening. So it's very important for us to now become more sophisticated in the wealth game. and advise our clients in a more strategic way.
Yeah.
Rather than before when it was much smaller, the pie was much smaller. Now the stakes are much higher.
Yeah.
So we look at Dubai not just as a place where you buy real estate, we look at it as a wealth base for you. You come in, you do your golden visa, you open up your bank account, so you have like a financial track record in the market. Then you buy your property. And then maybe later on you want to open a business there, or you want to take a mortgage, or you want to move your children for university or school because the education is also really good there.
Yeah.
So I'm offering you a location to have a wealth pocket, not just to buy a real estate asset.
Yeah.
And the golden visa has propelled that in a big way. It's actually been the biggest success factor why Dubai real estate is where it is today. It was launched just after COVID.
Yeah.
Initially, it was launched at 10 million dirhams to get the golden visa. And 1 year later, they made it 2 million. They brought it all the way down to 2 million dirham,
Yeah.
which is equivalent of $500,000 approximately. And that has really propelled people because $500,000 to get a 10-year visa in UAE, it's a very attractive
Yeah.
point. And then I'll go further. After that, they even reduced the amount, the down payment amount to get the golden visa. So before it was you have to put the full 2 million to get the golden visa. Now you only have to put 24% of that,
Oh, wow.
which is about $150,000. And you can get the golden visa and sponsor your whole family.
Yeah.
You can sponsor your children, your parents, house help, anyone to come with you to Dubai. So it's very affordable now.
Yeah.
You know, everyone can afford the golden visa.
Yeah, exactly. They're trying to make it more affordable for everyone, so
Yes.
everyone is welcomed.
Yes. And you become part of the system. You become a
Yeah.
VIP resident of UAE. So you start moving your wealth there slowly. You start investing in markets, you know, and you create that pool.
If someone is starting between $300,000 to $500,000, how should they think strategically?
It's a very good question, Safa. So I would advise as a first-time investor to diversify and start with Dubai as your main point of investment.
Yeah.
With the $300,000 to $500,000, if it's for investment use, I would suggest diversifying into two properties. Put a bit in a studio and a bit in a one bedroom. So you get the diversification of both type of assets.
Yeah.
And both these assets should be with different developers and in different locations. So then your investment is not also skewed too much in one area. Studios give you very high rental yield compared to the one bedroom.
Yeah.
They're very fast moving if you want to sell it, you know, very soon. And if you look at the demographics of UAE and Dubai particularly, it's an expat driven city.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of singles, there are a lot of like couples that have just moved there and they're trying to build their lives. So I would say a studio and one bed would be a good start to kind of get the ball rolling, get a good ROI, capital appreciation. And later on, then maybe once you've gained a good capital appreciation, you can flip these properties and invest into something more long term, like a villa or a townhouse that gives you a more longevity over the long term for your family and your legacy.
Exactly. And that's very good advice.
Yes, yes.
So this is where the conversation deepens because you have said wealth is more than just capital. It's legacy.
Yes.
How do you define the word legacy?
Legacy for me is, like I mentioned, at the core of what I do. And it's the reason why I wake up every morning and advise my clients. And I'm inspired by it. My inspiration is using the knowledge that I have acquired through managing my own family legacy to assist them in managing theirs and safeguarding it for the long term. I grew up, as I mentioned to you, watching one generation build everything and then the next generation kind of, a large part of it flow out because of lack of communication, lack of good structures, legacy planning, lack of good advisors. And that is where my passion became a reality because I wanted to have structure and I wanted to create structure first in my family. I started with bringing all the family members, the stakeholders together.
Yeah.
Communication is key. Everyone should talk. Things should be transparent, especially when you're running family businesses and you have so many different stakeholders. Once you bring them together, then you start to understand the dynamics, the personalities, who will be the person running with the legacy requirements, who will be the people executing, who will be the beneficiaries, and then you slowly advise them. So the legacy is at my core. It's everything I do, and I'm very passionate about it.
You know, when I think about wealth preservation, I think about building something that cannot collapse, you know, and you have to keep in mind currency shifts, market changes, you know, being ready for loss because, you know, it's life.
Of
And
course.
this is something my mother taught me. So for you, what does it mean to protect your wealth?
I think I associate money with discipline, because I live in Dubai. It's a very luxurious world, and you can get carried away. So for me, discipline is at my core. Saving, making the right investments,
Yeah.
planning ahead, gaining different revenue streams of income, and also investing correctly and at a young age makes a very big difference. So yes, all these components comprise my understanding of wealth and money, but discipline sits at the center of it all.
Of course.
Even with legacy planning, discipline is very important. You can put a plan, you can hire the best advisor, you can spend millions of dollars with structures,
Yeah.
but if you're not disciplined to carry out and execute that vision, it's all a waste.
Exactly.
So yeah.
Let's zoom out of the bigger picture now.
Sure.
The UAE has been ranked the safest countries in 2025. How important is safety in wealth preservation?
Extremely important. That's why I mentioned to you there's been a wealth migration. 9,800 millionaires shifted last year, majority from the UK
Yeah.
because of the non-dom tax rules and all that. Why did they come to UAE? Not just because it offered them a safe haven for their funds, you
Yeah.
know, and tax-free. It's because of security. They can walk in the evening at any time with their Rolex watches, with their expensive, you know, bags or whatever it is, jewelry, and not feel even a hint of
Fear.
exactly. And that's something that money cannot buy, security. But Dubai has actually captured it very well. They spend
Yeah.
millions of dollars every year on security and AI, robotics. And that's why they're able to really control the market in a very positive way. And when you're coming into UAE, when you're becoming a golden visa holder, or you're buying a property there, or you're moving your family there, security is at the top. You think
Yeah.
about that, number one. And my clients all love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you're a high net worth individual, you have everything at your disposal. So what is the main thing for you?
Safety, of
Yeah.
course.
Yeah. That's what you want.
Of course. Even when you're with your family, you know, you're not only thinking about yourself, you're thinking about your kids, your spouse,
Exactly.
elderly people you live with. It's about everyone in the family.
Exactly. And I mean, if you're looking at a very successful HNI client, he's traveling around the globe, he's in meetings all over the place. He wants to just have a peace of mind. My family is in Dubai, they're very safe. I can send my child to school in the school bus. I don't have to worry.
Yeah.
You know, it's a peace of mind. So he can be more productive, or she can be more productive in whatever they're doing on a day-to-day basis.
So the UAE market is nearing $700 billion in valuation. Would you say that is peak or still early?
I would say it's still early, not peak. Still has a long way to go. The UK, the UAE as you see it today, it's not going to be the same UAE in the next 20, 30 years.
Yeah.
There's a lot of plans. If you've heard of the 2030 plan, 2040 plan, the government has put a lot of infrastructural plans into place to make UAE the best place in the world to live. They're doing it very strategically now. They're connecting all the Emirates. So by the end of this year, the Etihad rail will come into play. It will connect Abu Dhabi to Dubai, and then later it will connect all the other Emirates. You have the Dubai Loop. You've got the new Town Square Mall coming up. You've got Dubai South Al Maktoum Airport. Dubai is not going to remain the way it is today.
Yeah. Like you
Downtown,
said, you go back after 2 weeks and you see it's changed.
things have changed. My road, like there's a new building come up. My
Yeah.
view of Burj Khalifa's gone.
Yeah.
You know, so things are just transforming in a big way, and that's why I feel like UAE will become like UK in the future, you know, or Singapore. It will be an actual hub for financial investments and real estate investments with different places to invest within UAE. It's not just going to be downtown Burj Khalifa. It's going to be Abu Dhabi now.
Yeah.
Let's look at something near Disneyland. That's amazing. Or let's look at something near the casinos in Ras Al Khaimah.
Yeah.
So there's so many different points pulling in investors.
Speaking of Ras Al Khaimah, Dubai South and Ras Al Khaimah are emerging corridors right now.
Definitely.
Are we looking at the next structural shift?
For sure, I would say with Dubai South, 100%, we're looking at the structural shift. Why? Because Emirates is the heartbeat of Dubai. It's the reason why Dubai has been so successful, because of its location, attracting people to come to Dubai. Now, when you move Al Maktoum Airport to Dubai South, when you move Emirates to Dubai South, you're actually moving the whole, location where the international people are coming in
Yeah.
into that location. Now, when you fly in, you want to be close to, you want your hotel should be close, your mall should be close, you want to party around this area. So that whole area will just boom in the future. And then next door, they're building the Expo City. Well, it's already built, and now they've started to have all the conferences shift over there from Trade Center. So it will be a no-brainer. You land in the airport and you go for your conference, and then you live and you, shop around that area. So there's a huge shift towards that location.
For the Kenyans watching, why should they be paying attention to the UAE market right now? What would you tell them?
It offers them a very strategic diversification for their wealth management. The first and most important reason, it's tax-free. So there's no rental income tax, no capital gains tax, no inheritance tax, no personal tax. Which
Free
gives
of tax.
free of tax, exactly.
Yeah.
It's very important, number one. Number two, the accessibility to Dubai. 4.5 hours away, very fast. You can go and come at any point in time. There's actually a very big bridge between UAE and Africa at the moment to take advantage of that. Number three, the currency risk is eliminated because you're investing in the dirham. The dirham is pegged to the dollar. So Kenyan shilling could devalue in the future. It has devalued over the past couple of years. This way, you're securing your currency risk by having a dollar asset outside the country. So I think these three fundamentals are very key for Kenyans. And I would add insecurity, definitely.
Of course.
It's very important to have that peace of mind that your investment is safe. When you're buying a property in Dubai, everything is digital. You have an app called Dubai Rest app. You have to put in your certificate number. You get everything about your property on that. You don't need to go to any physical lands department or any lawyers. You don't even need a lawyer in a transaction. You can just buy it outright.
Yeah.
So it's all about transparency.
Which
Yes.
we don't really have.
We're still an emerging market.
Yeah.
And I mean, Kenya is a wonderful place as well. I mean, the land values have gone up significantly since the time we were kids till now. There's been a lot of wealth coming through that.
Yeah.
But it's an emerging market, so it's still developing, it's still finding its feet.
Yeah.
So why not, like us as young entrepreneurs coming up in life, building our legacy, we ensure we have different pockets of wealth all over.
Exactly.
We have our business in Kenya, but then you have your investments offshore. So you balance it out.
You have operated in high-level banking and real estate.
Yes,
This is an industry dominated by men.
it is.
What has being a woman taught you in wealth management and leadership?
I'm not going to lie, it has been intimidating at times. I have actually I've walked into a boardroom and been the only woman and felt a bit intimidated. But I always felt like I took it positively and I felt like it gave me a competitive edge more than anything else. As women, we have an emotional intelligence. More higher than men sometimes. And when we're talking about relationship management and private banking, it's a role focused on building trust, nurturing relationships. And I think emotional intelligence is key. And this is where I'm stronger than my male counterparties in my relationships, because I can assess certain things that the client may be not explaining properly, or I can get some certain information from the client where my male colleague was just ready to close the deal. He just wants to do the transaction, whereas I handhold my client a bit more, and build a relationship a bit more. So I feel it's given me a strategic advantage.
Yeah.
And I'm one of the only private banking women, from East Africa.
Wow.
At the
I
moment.
love that for you.
Actually, I think I'm the only one.
Wow.
So I would encourage, young entrepreneurs, women who want to go in finance, to really look at this role, because there's so much demand. There's a lot of demand, and it's not that difficult. You just have to focus on your clients, your knowledge, be confident.
Would you say women approach investment different?
I believe so. I have women clients as men as well as the male clients, and I feel the women clients are more growth oriented and future oriented, while some of my male clients are more, they want to make fast capital appreciation. So I believe with that lens of being a woman and more emotionally intelligent, you're looking more at a long term family plan for your children,
Yeah.
you know, and then for you, even your grandchildren, you know, they have more a long term purview of what is happening. It usually happens that I first start off the conversation with a husband, and then he would then introduce me to his wife,
Yeah.
and then we would take on things after that. So that's normally how I think they also carry a huge decision making power
Yeah.
in this setup. Yes.
Wife's way or no way?
Exactly, exactly. And I think it's good because
Yeah.
they come on board with, you know, a lot of facts,
Yeah.
and they're looking out for holistically as a family, which is very important.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit of quiet power.
Okay.
What does it mean to you?
Well, this is actually the first time I've actually come out in the public, done a podcast. The reason is because the nature of my job, you're dealing with highly sensitive information, very confidential. So I've always had a challenge when it comes to going out and telling people what I do, mainly because I just have to be very private in what I do. So I have grown quietly over time, but I think reached a point in my life recently where I said, I've acquired so much knowledge, and it's time to now assist people with that knowledge and find more and better platforms to, you know, convey these messages to people. So I'm more ready now to do that. But of course, keeping everything very confidential, never ever mentioning any client names or details. I'm very, very careful on this.
How would you say you balance such intense business and your private life?
Yes, it's not easy as well.
I'm sure.
Yes, because the job of a private banker, you know, and real estate manager, we do a lot of traveling, a lot of wining and dining, a lot of relationship management. So that takes up a lot of my time as well. I really have to be disciplined in my personal life as well. I have to really give myself time, my friends, my family, and go out of my way to ensure that that part of my life is also very stable. But yes, it's not easy. Sometimes you do get the blurred lines coming in between when you're on a long business trip and everything back home is like, you know, you're not in routine. It's not easy sometimes.
Yeah.
But I love it.
That's nice.
Yeah.
So this brings me to my last question. When you look 20 years ahead, what legacy do you want Oraki to represent?
Wow. Actually, I haven't thought about that in detail, but that's a very, very good question. I think I want to create something impactful and make a difference in people's lives.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's not just, like I said, selling them a property. It's going to be a whole journey.
Yeah.
You know, the next 20 years, what happened with that property? Did you sell it in the end? Did you buy another one? Can I assist you to do that?
Yeah.
Or can we restructure your existing portfolio? In 20 years' time, it's a very long time. Your children will also now come in the picture. So can I create a structure for you in order to secure that existing property that you have?
Yeah.
So it's a journey that I want to create, a lot of impact
Yeah.
with my existing clients, and change the way that they invest, change the way that they think about money, and also the way that they plan the future of their families for handing over the wealth.
Yeah. I think that's wonderfully put. Yeah.
Thank you.
So we're just going to have a quick lightning round. These
Okay.
are just some fun questions. Don't overthink the answers. You can just give short answers.
Sure.
Heels in office or flats for efficiency?
Flats in the office, for sure.
Downtown Dubai or Palm Jumeirah?
Downtown, any day.
Burj Khalifa view or beachfront sunrise?
Burj Khalifa,
Luxury watch or luxury property?
luxury property, any
Of course.
day. Any day.
One word Dubai investors overuse.
Off plan.
If Dubai were a stock, buy, hold, or sell?
Buy, and hold.
Thank you so much, Neha. This
Thank you.
conversation has been really wonderful. And you know, it's reframed how we think about property, not as square footage, but as strategy.
Exactly.
Thank you for showing us that wealth, when built intentionally, is legacy.
Thank you so much,
I really
Safaa.
appreciate you
This is a
coming.
pleasure, and thank you for this amazing platform.
Anytime.
And it's really been very interesting for me.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And it was lovely to meet you. You're honestly such a wonderful person.
Oh, you
Yeah.
too.
Thank you for watching Quiet Empire. Trust the quiet work. It's building more than you think.